Black Respite of Oblivion is the sophomore full-length album from Toughness, a Polish death metal band, and one we could describe as a kind of an old-school technical death metal band, the way we might have seen it back in the early to mid-90s. They're very much influenced by Demilich, and it's going to be obvious from the moment you hear them, the moment you see this particular record, not only because of the cover art, but the way that they've presented themselves overall is aiming for a very clear point of inspiration. The first record from the band back in 2022, which I'd also covered and praised, was a little bit more influenced by Morbid Angel in some of its movements. It broke things up a bit and it wasn't all congested technical death metal in an old school style. And the history of the band kind of dates back to about 2015 under the name Conveyor, where they presented something that was a more modern, more technically motivated style that was not necessarily cheap, unfeeling tech death, but it was something more along the lines of Discord, which are more abstract and pointed in their exploration of rhythms. So for this group, it is very much the thing you expect it to be when you see it. So we'll just get to a song here and I'll prove it with this clip. The very obvious cover artist and the general sound of this band really does invoke what Demilich were known for back in the day, but maybe more on a surface level. They're definitely producing similar vocal styles. They've got a ton of guest spots from Will Smith of Afterbirth and Biolich, and the focus is very clear on what they're doing. And I could reduce it down to Demilich worship, but I don't know that that really does justice to the more inventive nature of this band, and as much as they put into not only their previous record, but all that they've done to refine this one, not only getting a much more idealized render of their aesthetic, but also the render of their sound. There's a lot to enjoy here in terms of the boost in fidelity. Their playing has gotten much better. These young musicians have reached a more virtuosic touch in their work, and now they're getting even better at reaching their goal of this sound. It kind of makes me wonder what they're going to do next, because there isn't a lot to really talk about in terms of a review here, other than the moment-to-moment action, which resembles some of my favorite death metal, such as Nespith from the kind of 1993 stable of Weird Things that got lost in the shuffle at the time. So there isn't any real additional interest that I could really dive into here other than this sounds like that. And I think that was the point where it's like either you're a fan of old school death metal and you really want this sound, and there's so few bands that have done it right without kind of screwing it up or messing with it in a way that is either too modern or just uninteresting. For what it is, this is a great record. It certainly is the thing you expect it to be when you show up for it, and they're great at it. And I think this is a band I would love to see live. I'd like to see what other action they put into it. For me, I'd like to see where Toughness will evolve in the future, and I think it's a little bit obvious when re-listening to the album and going through it, is that composition and finding inventive ways to use the sound to take us somewhere else with it is the next goal for the band. And we do get some kind of Time Ghoul-esque feeling in some of these songs. There are some exaggerations that begin to bloom outward, but most of this is focused on simpler, irregular motions found on Nespith and similar records. So it is a very familiar thing, but it's also a brilliant version of that thing, and I think it really deserves some praise here. This is one of my favorite records from February, and is well worth checking out. It released on February 28th. I didn't have that much to say about it, but I hope you'll still check it out. It's a great record. Read my review if you'd like more of my thoughts, and check it out.